What you are about to hear may shake something loose inside you. It may hit a nerve you did not expect, stir a kind of anger you thought you had buried long ago, and then somehow restore your belief that justice still has a pulse. There are stories that feel fictional because they carry too much weight, too much heartbreak, too much truth. Yet every word of this happened inside a real courtroom, in front of real people, on a morning no one present would ever forget. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments where you are watching from. We would love to see how far this conversation is reaching. It all began with a night that should have been peaceful. It should have been silent, calm, even sacred. Christmas Eve is meant to be the one evening when the world softens a bit. The one evening when exhausted parents tell themselves, it will all be worth it in the morning. When children fall asleep believing something magical is on its way. 11:27 p.m. In a city covered in snow, that fragile magic was ripped away from one family in the most violent way imaginable. Maria Chen, 34 years old, bone-tired from a 14-hour nursing shift, was driving home with her 3 children asleep in the back seat, their tiny heads leaning toward one another, blankets tucked around them, the kind of innocence that makes your chest ache. In the trunk behind them were the gifts she had spent 11 months saving for, choosing carefully, hiding receipts in drawers so she would not feel guilty about wanting her children to feel joy. Every dollar came from skipped lunches, overtime shifts, moments of rest she pushed aside. She did it gladly. Christmas morning was worth it. Ahead of her, the traffic light glowed red. She slowed, stopped, exhaled, and for the first time all day, allowed herself to feel a small spark of excitement. She never saw the black Mercedes barreling toward her at 73 miles per hour. In a 30-mile zone, Lauren Ashford was flying down Hope Street with a blood alcohol level of 0.18. She was furious over an argument with her father, texting her boyfriend so aggressively that the glow from her phone lit her face brighter than the streetlights. She did not notice the red light. She did not notice the Honda stopped ahead. She did not notice the 3 children who trusted that their mother would keep them safe. The impact struck it. Jamsablas lewa 2 minute p.m. The sound was not a crash but an explosion, metal twisting, glass shattering, the world cracking open. Maria's Honda lurched forward violently, spinning. The trunk burst, scattering wrapped boxers into the air. They landed like broken ornaments across the snow. Dolls, books, a gaming console, shoes, art supplies, everything Maria gathered with love was ripped apart in seconds. Inside the car, little Emma woke to her own scream. Tyler clutched his arm, crying that it hurt. Sophie tasted blood flowing down her forehead. Maria felt the warmth of blood in her mouth, but the only words pounding in her mind were, "My children, my children, my children." Neighbors ran outside, stunned. Snow fell over destroyed dreams. Officer Marcus Johnson arrived less than 5 minutes later. His body camera recorded the chaos. Maria holding Emma tightly, neighbors wrapping blankets around the older 2, gifts scattered like ruins of a holiday that never arrived. Then the camera turned to Lauren. She sat in her luxury SUV, like someone inconvenienced, her breath thick with alcohol, her eyes half-focused. When the officer approached, she did not ask if the children were alive. She said, "Do you know who my father is?" When she stumbled through the sobriety tests, failing each one, her frustration grew. When asked to blow into the breathalyzer, she muttered something that would later echo through a courtroom. "That woman pulled out in front of me. Her kids are fine. It is just stuff. We can buy them new stuff." Officer Johnson looked at the crushed presents on the street. "Just stuff," he repeated quietly, as though the words themselves were a slap. Lauren was handcuffed at 11:53 p.m., scowling, still insisting everyone was overreacting. Hours later, her attorney would arrive with $50,000 in cash to bail her out, as if this were simply another unpleasant task to check off before brunch. Meanwhile, Maria and her children spent Christmas morning in the emergency room. Sophie needed stitches. Tyler's wrist was sprained. Emma was trembling, unable to unclench her small hands. By the time they returned home, the sun had risen on a Christmas without gifts, without excitement. 3 weeks later, the case landed in Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom. It was a Tuesday morning, the kind of morning where people sip coffee to stay awake, expecting routine cases, small fines, nothing historic, but by 10 a.m., the room felt charged with something heavier. Maria sat quietly in her faded scrubs, exhaustion etched into her posture. Across the aisle, Lauren entered, wearing a designer coat worth more than 3 months of Maria's rent. Hair, perfect. Nails immaculate. An expression that said, "Let us get this over with." The contrast was jarring. Judge Caprio read the charges: driving under the influence, reckless driving, and 3 counts of child endangerment. Lauren's attorney stood quickly. "My client pleads not guilty. We believe this incident was a simple accident. Miss Ashford's blood alcohol level was within acceptable limits." The judge stared at him. The breathalyzer showed 0.18. "We will be filing motions to suppress." Caprio exhaled slowly, then asked to hear from the victim. Maria approached the stand. Her hands trembled, but her voice held steady, at least at first. She described the red light, the impact, the terror. She described her children's screams, The blood, the presents blown across the street like debris. When she whispered, I had been saving for 11 months. The courtroom shifted. People leaned forward. Some pressed their lips together to keep emotions in place. Then she said the words that made Judge Caprio remove his glasses. She told me, it is just stuff. We will buy you new stuff. A ripple of disbelief moved through the room, and that is when everyone noticed Lauren, head down, scrolling on her phone. Miss Ashford, Judge Caprio said, are you texting during the victim's testimony? She looked up, I was checking something. The audacity stunned even those who came in with no opinion. When Maria spoke about the nightmares, the sleepless nights, the fear her daughter carried every time she saw a car, the courtroom grew silent. You could almost hear hearts tightening. Then Maria revealed something that made the room erupt. 3 days earlier, Lauren's attorney had offered her $500 not to testify. Judge Caprio's gavel hit the bench so hard the room jumped. $500. That is not a settlement. That is witness tampering. Tension swelled. Anger surfaced. Even Lauren looked nervous, though only briefly. And then it happened. Her phone buzzed again. Judge Caprio heard it. Everyone heard it. Miss Ashford, he warned. Silence the phone. It is my father texting, she whispered. Hand me the phone. Her eyes widened. What? No. Hand me the phone. The room froze as she reluctantly passed it over. What the judge read next became the reason millions of people would share this moment around the world. Read her messages aloud, one after another, each more heartless than the last. Dad, this judge is being so unreasonable. The woman is crying about Christmas presents. We can just buy her new ones. I do not want to wear the boring outfit you suggested. This is not a big deal. Call his office. I want this done. I have lunch plans at 12:30. And worst of all, it is not like her kids died. Maria stood shakily, unable to remain seated after hearing that. You could have killed them, she said. You almost did. Judge Caprio called for the bailiff. Get me Mr. Richard Ashford's office number. Moments later, the entire courtroom listened as the judge placed Lauren's billionaire father on speakerphone. What followed shocked everyone, especially Lauren. Her father did not defend her. He did not excuse her behavior. He said words no one expected from a billionaire, who could have erased the entire situation with a single check. I have failed as a father, he said. I gave her everything except the things that mattered. I support whatever sentence you give her. No appeals, no special treatment. Lauren's face drained of color. He went further. He suggested harsher consequences. Real consequences, consequences that could not be bought, avoided, or delayed. Jail time, loss of her car, loss of her money, a year of minimum wage work, a full cutoff from family funds, direct restitution to Maria, personal apologies. When he arrived 45 minutes later and stood before Maria, he apologized with sincerity that brought people to tears. Lauren was sentenced soon after. Jail fines, community service, counseling, 1 year of minimum wage employment, full restitution. As the bailiff placed handcuffs on her wrists, Lauren looked for her father's comfort. He did not offer it. He simply nodded, acknowledging a painful truth. This was the moment that might finally save her. Months later, she completed her sentence. She took the bus, worked long shifts, lived simply, and slowly grew into someone who understood the gravity of what she had done. She wrote heartfelt letters to the children. Sophie forgave her first. Maria never forgot the pain, but she also never forgot the transformation she witnessed. One she did not expect, a broken Christmas, became a turning point. A courtroom became a classroom, a father chose responsibility over protection. Young woman learned humility, a mother found justice. And a judge reminded millions that accountability is not cruelty. Accountability is love in its strongest form. If